governing body comments?
I do. What I'm about to talk about is in the interest of full disclosure and transparency from this body. We have received 2 letters alleging a complaint against a sitting council member. Before I get into that, this is not done to form any judgments, to solicit any comments. It is done, like I said, as a matter of transparency, and it's a matter of public records since we received them in the form of an email. They are addressed to the city council. I know that the mayor cannot bring this up, but I feel it is incumbent upon at least one other member of city council to do that, and that's what I've done, and it's weighed heavy on me. We have had some comments from Councilman Vela regarding his not seeking re-election. And I can read these letters in their entirety in full disclosure, or that can be sufficient to say that we did receive 2 complaints about a sitting member of council. And what's the council's pleasure?
How about giving them to me first?
You received them in an email?
Huh?
Did you receive them in an email?
No.
Should have, but it was sent out to everybody.
When?
I didn't get it. April 14th, 2023 at 4:11 p.m. Edward.vela@lahuntcolorado.org.
Let me check. Who's sent by who?
Mr. Rick Klein.
Just to do away with the awkward silence and again continue with full disclosure with no other intent other than to disclose and to be transparent as a city council, I'll go ahead and just read them in whatever order I have them. Lahana City Council. Synchronicity Dance Production was invited to City Council to talk about their upcoming production during their meeting held on 2/21/23. The dancers needed to change into their costumes and used an office next to the chamber room. Several dancers were undressing to get into their costumes. There were at least 4 to 5 female dancers in addition to myself and the director. I was standing at the door to make sure no one walked in while they were dressing. Someone knocked on the door, thinking it might be another dancer. I opened it and saw that it was Ed Vela. I immediately advised the girls are dressing and he cannot enter. He did not seem deterred in the slightest and advised that he needed tissue while looking past me into the room. I closed the door ASAP. After grabbing the tissue, I opened the door as little as possible and passed the tissue as fast as I could and saw that he did not make any attempt to avert his eyes. I was surprised that he still wanted the tissue after I made it clear that the girls were changing. I thought his behavior was odd and did not appreciate the fact that he still attempted to look in after he was aware that the girls were dressing. I did not feel this is normal or acceptable behavior from a grown man, let alone a man on our city council.
Signed by who?
Amy Salazar, citizen of Lahana.
Who?
Amy Salazar, citizen of Lahana.
Oh, okay. Don't know her. Got another one?
Yes. During the afternoon on Sunday, March 26th, Ed Vela and his wife came to the Kashard Museum, where I work. After asking a few things about the trading post, he asked me if I remembered when my dancers came to the city building to talk about our upcoming show during the city council meeting. I told him yes. He began asking me several questions about when my dancers were changing in the office. He asked me if all the dancers were in my office. If all my dancers were in the office, sorry for the correction. I told him only a few were. He asked if David Eckhart was in the office. I told him no. He told me the dancers were just putting costumes over their clothes. I told him no. They had to change out of their street clothes and into their costumes. He asked if I remembered when he asked for tissues and how the door was open barely a crack. I told him I don't know about that, and I don't think so. He then very pointedly told me, yes you do. You know, yes you do know. I didn't respond. He and his wife then proceeded to look around the museum and trading post for some time. As they left, he loudly stated that he should leave something in the donation or I will tell my mom. I felt very much that he was insinuating something. I felt uncomfortable with him being at my place of work and felt like he was trying to press me to change my story about what happened the day of the council meeting. His comment as he was leaving felt it was meant to intimidate me. And that was submitted by Sarah Mahoney.
Mr. Maloff, do you want to advise before Mr. Vela may say something that's...
Well, the way it's been couched, it's a matter of public information. I don't know that it requires a response. Certainly Mr. Vela has the floor if that's what he chooses to do. At this point, there's no motion before the floor, or before the body. There is simply a piece of data that has been shared with you, the council as a group. What you choose to do with that data is up to you. Your choices, just to be clear, are governed in no small part by procedures and processes that require, that mandate due process of law. I had sent through distribution channels the SIRSA responses to how these kinds of things should be investigated. I think it's pretty consistent with what we have been discussing over and over and over again with various members of this board as this matter has developed. But Mr. Vela has an entitlement to know specifically what the complaint is if this body decides that they want to move forward with an investigation. So I think that the only options that are available to this body right now, someone could call for an investigation, and that would be governed by this outline of procedures that we have. Or just, it's a matter of data that you're now informed about, that you may want to absorb, think about, or do something with. I'm not making a recommendation either way.
Mr. Vela, would you like to respond?
Yes, all this is a big lie. The purpose of my going back to the Paula's office, well, first of all, the mayor invited these kids down here to perform, supposedly, but nobody ever performs here because there's no room. What happened was they all huddled in to Mrs. Johanna's office, and that's a small space, and there's got to be at least 10 people in there, I guess, but they should have gone in the utility board room. And I asked the mayor, in the future, please have those people go back to the back. We got to be responsible if we're the invitees, or if we're the inviters to these kids to go back there.
Why would you have been asking?
I'm not taking questions, Elaine, so don't interrupt me. Just keep your mouth shut.
I was just confused. And
Yeah, well, order. Don't interrupt me because I didn't interrupt you or anybody else that was speaking.
Let's be respectful of that.
I was sorry. I
Well,
was just
yeah.
confused.
Okay.
But what happened was, this box here, it's the same box. It took me 25 seconds to go from my chair here around the corner because this door was locked. Rick was on vacation. Took me 25 seconds to go back there knock on the door, ask for a Kleenex. Somebody opened the door about that much, the width of a Kleenex box. And that's exactly what happened. The door was open, I asked for a Kleenex, they closed the door. It only opened about the width of this. They opened it and they said, okay. And they grabbed the box of Kleenex, opened it again this much, handed me the box of Kleenex, and I came back and I set it over here. And that's exactly 25 seconds. I did not have time, nor did I have any interest in seeing anybody dress or undress, because that is not what happened. Because of the medications that I take per day, sometimes I'll have a clear mucus running down my nose. And those medications are the result of my military service. And I don't have any interest in going to see some kids who just opened the door like that. I mean, people are thinking in your mind perhaps, they opened the door wide because everybody was dressing. No, that isn't the case. They opened it that wide. I grabbed the Kleenex, came back here, and took care of my business.
You told it.
Because of my nose, and I've set them over here. And that's where that box of Kleenex has stayed, and I'm glad that it has been. That's all I know about it. I had no idea. I don't know who those people were, but I am not afraid to tell the truth. That's gospel. 25 seconds from here to Paula's office and back. That's what I got. And I have an allergy. Even Lisa says, oh, you have a flat tire, huh? I go, what do you mean? Well, you breathe and then you go, huh. And that's a result of the medications I take because of my military service that I've been taking for years. And that's one of the residuals, if you will, about taking medications. Perhaps some of you do too. But I always go into Rick's office first to grab the Kleenex, because there's never any up here. And if there's not any there, I'll go to Paula's office. Paula's always accommodating to give me that information. Now, when this first came out, Dean, and he took the mayor as a witness back there to the utility room, and they held me in there, and they told me what the complaint was verbally. They didn't have it documented like you folks have it now, and they didn't have it documented, and I told them, well, why don't you hear my side? I don't want to hear it, the city attorney says. And I tried to get, that's exactly how he said it. And he says, I'm going to leave if you're going to say it. And I tried to tell the mayor too, and he was just dumbfounded. He couldn't believe what he was hearing probably. But they both walked out, and I haven't heard anything since then. Now you tell me that's justice, you tell me that's fairness and equity. It is not. Because I know better than to do things like that what I'm accused of. It's no different than, Paul, when you were actively working in the state patrol, you pull somebody over in your 20 plus years that you've been a state patrolman, right? You pull somebody over, and I'm sure in those 20 years, the skirts on women that you pull over have gotten higher. The collars on there have gotten lower too, and you could be accused of the same thing. And there was a lady at the, I'm not going to say her name, but there was a lady who was in this room who rubbed her derriere across my back at the St. Patrick's dinner from one side to the other. That's sexual harassment. I didn't do it. That didn't, why wasn't, and I reported that to Dean. And I said I would reserve right to bring that up too. And I'm bringing that up here. But don't try to pull this slime on me, because I ain't going to put up with it. I can tell you that much. That's all I had for now.
So the same I won't say recommend, the same options are available to the council on how they want to proceed.
I would suggest that we just, everybody take this and read this, we just got it today, and then make a recommendation. It's ethics, liability, and best practices for elected officials. I don't know these women that complain. I don't know what their sensitivity is, and I don't care. I just don't want to go through this again and waste the city's money, because it's not true.
If you didn't enter the room, Ed, I think that's the main thing.
I didn't
We can't have any comment from outside, Mr. McDonald.
See, that's how far the window
Right,
was,
so
the
you
door
didn't
was
enter the
open.
room, so that's a big point there in your favor.
Look, let me interrupt here and say with absoluteness that this is not intended, this conversation
hearing.
should not be intended to be a determination of responsibility or a determination of what has occurred. If Mr. Velasquez chooses to want to bring it up, it's a data point. If Mr. Vela wants to respond, it's a data point. In a meeting. If there is a need to investigate the veracity of the complainees, or if there's a complainants, I'm sorry, or a need to investigate further, that's not yet before this body, but that is as far as it could go, should go tonight. There shouldn't be a discussion about facts. This isn't the place for it. It's premature. If somebody wants an investigation, well, then make a motion and we'll see how the rest of you feel. If people are satisfied at this point, then that's fine too. But we should not have an open discourse concerning what did or didn't occur, or what should or shouldn't have occurred. So, Mr. Mayor, I would implore you to shut down
Any further discussion? We had a complaint
I'm
issued.
the only one who said anything, so don't worry about it.
Okay, but also from anyone else, the complaint was read, Mr. Vela responded. Now, if there wants to be an investigation, the council needs to bring that up or not.
And I didn't mean to announce my no intent to run for re-election on account of this. I did that before. I mentioned to people that I was not going to run. I even told the mayor that when I asked him to support me for mayor, and he says, "Oh, I'm running for mayor." Good. I slapped a $100 bill in his hand, and I went to support him from there. And that's intent right there. And then I see all you young people here. This city is yours. You take it. I'm out. I did 8 years. That's good enough for me. I did my civic duty, and I sure as hell wouldn't allow this slime to go on. I'm sorry, Mr. O'Connor, you had to hear this. You're new, but if that's what goes on, we just got to get to the bottom of it.
So by saying get to the bottom of that, are you asking for an investigation?
No, that's up to the council. I don't want no investigation, Paul, because this is it. What I told you is the gospel truth. I have no interest or never even had a passing thought at what these kids were thinking.
You said you wanted to get to the bottom of that. How do you?
Mr. Mayor, I hate to pull out the rule book. If there's a motion on the floor, it can be discussed, but this dialogue back and forth, in my view, is very much out of order.
All right.
And if Betty even agrees, gosh, then I'm solid.
Okay.
So what is the pleasure of the council? Your mic's on.
Guys, for lack of a motion.
I'll take it that we don't want to do anything.
I'll speak up and say that I don't, so I'm not.
It's not,
Let's be
that's,
real careful here.
that's not a, that's not a,
It's out of order.
Yeah.
Let's just be very careful.
So it's just dying.
Well, I'll make a motion.
What's-
That's a further investigation of the matter, given that Mr. Vela has complete deniability in the accusation or alleged improprieties that were contained in the letters, that it be looked into further. That way we can discuss it.
Paul, I thought you were a gentleman at first, but you just
no,
don't
no,
like
no,
me.
no, no.
You just don't like me.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Hearing none, that motion, nope,
I would second that, just so we would make sure that
there's
both
discussion.
sides are heard.
Now discussion. Motion in the second, now there's discussion. Well, it wouldn't be his side and theirs, it would be, should we have an investigation side versus should we not have an investigation side? So for investigation side purposes, Dean, I would like to ask, what would that cost?
Well, if we take a look at the process that was promulgated by our insurance company, and to be very cold, we want to follow to the letter what our insurance company says, because that is the protection for all of us within our roles as government officials. That means an independent investigation, that means a delineation of an independent prosecutor or investigator. There are people to be interviewed. That's not going to be me. That's not going to be city management if you read that protocol that I sent out. So that means you're hiring independent people, going to hire at least a lawyer, at least an investigator, maybe a transcriptionist, and if prior events are any gauge of that, north of $5,000, probably close to $10,000.
And the time frame on that?
Well, time frame is however long it takes. Once the investigation's done and submitted to the prosecutor, he can decide whether there is an offense or not. That he creates a bill of particulars. If that's what he decides, then obviously Mr. Vela would have an opportunity to do whatever due diligence he feels appropriate, and then there would be a hearing. So I can't tell you that it's a 1 month, 3 months, 2 months. It takes as long as it takes. In a prior event, we had a very lengthy delay because the investigator was sent back to do a second part of the investigation, and he got caught in a murder trial, and he didn't do anything for 2 months while he completed his work in that murder trial. So I don't know what unforeseen delays might occur. I can't tell you a timeline.
It could be fast, it could be slow, it could be anywhere.
I'm sorry?
It could be fast, it could be slow, it could be,
Yeah, who's to know?
Discussion.
yes.
I had a chance to talk with this to the city manager, and he said, absolutely no. There's no merit in that. There was a
did not
lack
say
of
that.
time. Yes,
I
you
did not
did,
say that.
Rick. Don't be lying. You lied.
Call to
Order, Ed.
You. That's what he told me in his office.
Any other discussion? I
would just say, Ed, this is not a personal attack on you by this council. This was something that was brought from outside the council. These are citizens of Lahana, and if it were citizens of Lahana in any other circumstance, law enforcement could be involved, and it would have to be followed up with. So I just want you to know it's not a personal attack on you from this council, though.
Yeah.
So understand that. So the personal attack back on the council is, I feel, is unnecessary.
I'm just giving you all the evidence that I had and support in my favor. That's all I put in.
Mr. Mayor, I think very simply stated, the issue before you
Is whether to investigate or whether
you
to
want
not.
to fund an investigation. Don't draw any conclusions about
What's,
responsibility
yeah.
or culpability.
If the investigation goes through, is that done in a public session? The results, are they made public?
Yes.
Okay. Because this is all out in
Either
the
way.
public, so I
Either way.
want to, yes.
Whether there was a promotion of doing something more formal or that it's a dead duck, either way, if you ask for an investigation, I think that makes it public record.
Alright. Any more discussion? So if you vote yes, you want to have an investigation. If you vote no, you're voting no investigation. Is that clear?
That's it.
All right. I'll ask for your vote. Are you abstaining? Are we having abstentions or are those no's? Oh.
Aye. During the time that this had occurred, I was not in the building until, so I'm going to abstain because that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just saying, did you not know?
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
So that passes 4-2 with one abstention. Mr. Maloff, you'll get into doing that or filing the starting of that.
Correct. What I intend to do, this is an information item. I intend to seek out a lawyer that would take over the responsibilities. As soon as I could identify that person, then I would step back and whatever happens would be under his control. He would be special counsel to this council, and I think I sent you some stuff earlier today that indicates how that needs to take place.
You don't have to talk to him, Ed. Don't talk to the investigator.
I'll
Just
talk
keep
to
your
him.
doors shut.
I have no
No,
fear.
that's the best way to
Out of
handle
order.
it.
Out of order.
Keep your doors
McDonald.
shut.
Mr. McDonald, out of order.
Please.
All right. With that, I will adjourn this meeting.
Keep your door shut, Ed.